Welcome to AI Rounds, your weekly dose of AI in medicine and education.
We are your hosts, Dr. Nuria
and Dr. Morgan Leaf. Each week, we'll bring you a quick dive into the latest in artificial intelligence and how it's transforming healthcare, medical education, and medical communications.
From the tools changing how we teach, learn, and write, to breakthroughs shaping patient care. If it's new, exciting, or just plain useful, we're talking about it.
In just 10 to 15 minutes, we'll get you up to speed and maybe even spark your next big idea.
Let's make the rounds. Hi, Morgan.
Hey, Nuria. How are you?
Good. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
So we have something exciting to tell you guys about. We are organizing an early career medical writers summit that is going to be between June 8th and 12th. So it's going to be a full week, but it's not going to be as overwhelming as it sounds. And what we're doing for the next couple of episodes is just showing you like a preview of each of the people that will be involved in the summit and what they'll be talking about. So, Morgan, do you want to explain how the summit will be?
Yeah, I sure do. So, besides Nuria and I, we have some awesome colleagues involved in the summit. Some names that you know if you're connected with other medical writers on LinkedIn. A lot of really experienced folks with great knowledge to share. And the format that we're going to have is it's an audio summit for the most part. So each speaker, and there's 7 of us total, and each of us are going to record a 20-minute audio session. So it'll function kind of like a podcast. And you'll get 1 or 2 of those released each day from June 8th to the 12th. And then we're also going to have 2 live Q&A sessions in addition. So you will have opportunities to log on live and ask us questions directly.
Okay. Awesome. I think I am very excited. We haven't done anything like this before. So I'm hoping that people enjoy the format. I think the format is going to be awesome. And as we said, like in the next couple of weeks, we'll introduce the other speakers that will be at the summit. But today, we're going to talk about our 2 sessions.
And just to let folks know, with the target audience, we're saying early career. So that's anybody from somebody who's brand new to the field, who's just exploring, to folks who've been writing for a few years already. And another audience that I think would benefit from this summit is maybe folks who've been employed and are thinking of transitioning to freelance medical writing, because all of our speakers happen to be freelance medical writers. They're not necessarily going to be talking specifically about freelancing, but the topics that we'll be covering might be valuable to you if that's the transition you're looking at. So early career, brand new, thinking about maybe changing your approach, this summit is for you.
Yes, 100%. So as I said, we will be, the next couple of weeks, we'll be introducing and giving you like little snippets from the other speakers that will be at the summit. So you get to know them a little bit and you see like how awesome they are. But today we're going to be talking about what we will do in the summit.
And how awesome we are.
How awesome we are. Yes. So maybe I'll go first. My session will be about how you talk to your clients about using AI, right? A lot of questions. I always get a lot of questions about this, both from freelancers or medical writers and from people hiring medical writers. Like as things mature and we're starting to see the accrediting bodies and the regulatory bodies starting to demand more transparency, this is becoming more and more and more important. And so I'll be talking about, my session will be a little bit about like helping you get clarity about how to talk to your clients about this and like how much information do we really need to give. I think it's important not to transfer the work to the other person. So like, for example, it is not the other person's job to assess whether you use the correct model. You see what I mean? So like, you need to, like, that is still your job. So giving too much information is almost transferring the job to them because they now need to decide whether you did the right thing. So there's like a balance there. And there's a lot of nuance about how to talk to clients about this. This is always a topic of discussion. What about you, Morgan?
Well, I want to ask you a question about that, which is, again, kind of going back to who might be listening to this. Do you think there's some applicability of your topic to folks who are employed and want to talk to their boss about how they're using AI?
Yes. So companies are at a very different rates of adoption, and you get
Yeah.
some companies that are gung ho and they use and like really trying to push AI, and other companies that are like, no, we cannot use it. So I feel like the conversations that you might want to have with your employer are if you are in a company that is like very anti AI and you fear that this might have a negative repercussion for the company going forward as other companies adopt AI. So you might be like getting behind or something like that. Or like for your own personal development, right? So if you look for another job, we are hearing more and more that some employers are asking you, like, are you proficient with AI? The same way they in the 90s, in the 2000s, like it used to be a thing that you needed to put on your resume that you were proficient with Microsoft Office suite. So I
Right.
remember doing that in the
A
90s.
lot of people still do that.
So this might become more and more and more a thing that employers might be asking for that. So like yes,
Yeah.
so that is part of the whole like how to have conversations. Another one is if you are a person who deals a lot with freelancers and you
Mm.
starting to get a lot of pushback from freelancers because your contracts the contract language that you have says, for example, you are not allowed to use AI for anything and you understand that like them using AI for research is really not a problem or something like that, like we can like also develop like scripts of how to approach this conversation with your legal team, with your higher up team, whomever decides on the contracts that you have with freelancers. On the other extreme, if your employer is trying to tell you, pressure you, you should use AI, you should use AI, you should use AI, and you feel like
Mm.
that is affecting the quality of your work of or like for example like sometimes people talk about like everyone used AI and then I get the final product and it's full of errors. Like I'm hearing a lot
Yeah.
from fact checkers now that they're having to reference lists are a headache right now, for example.
Yeah.
So if you are like that last point, like the quality control person in your company and you're now like your workload has doubled because people are doing references with AI, for example, that is also something that you
Mhm.
might need a script to talk to your employer with about.
I love it. What a great topic. You're reminding me of, our mutual good friend, Sonia Narang, who is an executive coach and a phenomenal keynote speaker, has a talk that she gives about difficult conversations, right? And it's like that's almost what this has become in our industry because there's a little bit of taboo associated with it. So it's kind of like having a difficult conversation with somebody about AI because you don't know maybe what side they land on, or that their views are different from yours, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
these are tough conversations to have sometimes. And people are very emotional about it, which is fair, especially when like the news
Mhm.
are constantly telling us that AI is going to take our jobs away. I mean, that framing is going to make everyone emotional. What about you, Morgan? What is your talk about?
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about one of my very favorite topics, which is LinkedIn. And I'm excited for this talk I'm going to be doing because it's different. A lot of times when I talk about LinkedIn, my talks are related to how to build your profile, how to optimize it so that people find you, right? And I think that's a really important topic. But I think some medical writers have heard me talk about that before. So what I'm going to talk about in this summit is how to use LinkedIn. So once your profile is built, I think it's a struggle for people, and I get it because it can be a struggle for me for like, okay, I have this great profile and I know I need to be on their network, but how the heck do I do that? Because listen, like I'm going to be the first person to admit that LinkedIn is just there's a lot of fakeness on LinkedIn, man. It's brutal. And I say that as somebody who helps people write LinkedIn profiles and get noticed. And it is a super useful
Hmm.
platform. You need to be on LinkedIn, but it's also like you have to wade through a lot on LinkedIn. I know that can be hard on people. So I'm going to talk about the best ways to use LinkedIn hopefully in the least amount of time
Mhm.
that you need to get what you want out of it. Because I think it can also be really overwhelming to people who say, I have this new LinkedIn profile. I know I need to get on LinkedIn. And in their heads, they think that means that they need to get on there for like an hour every
Yeah.
day, and that is absolutely not the truth. So we can talk about how you can use it, what you can do, how AI can help you, and how not to make it take over your life. Like LinkedIn doesn't need to be your new Instagram. If you're like me and you like to spend time on Instagram looking at, shelter dogs that are up for adoption because that's fun, you don't need to replace that with LinkedIn where you're just scrolling. There's good ways to do it. So that's what we're gonna discuss.
Love it. Yeah, I feel a lot of people are very intimidated by LinkedIn. I remember my brother when he was like, "Oh, I want to get a new job, but I don't know how." Like, and I was like, "Oh, you should use LinkedIn." And he's like, "But how?" And then should I put I'm open for work, but then my boss is gonna see it, like. And I was like,
Yeah, great
I gave him
question.
like a couple of ideas and all that, and he did get a new job eventually. So yeah, I think
That's great.
yeah, I think there are ways to make it less intimidating for sure.
And I love that point you made about your brother,
Mhm.
right? Because that's natural for a lot of
Mhm.
people if you're in an employed
Yeah.
position. And of course, and same thing if you're a freelancer and you have all the clients you need, it's very easy to be like, well, I don't need anything. I can walk away from LinkedIn until I need something. And like, I mean, you can, but you're not making life easier on yourself when you do that. You actually do want to be on there and engaging. It's an algorithm, right? It's an algorithm just like any other social media
Mhm.
platform. So if you don't engage for months and then you just log back in and you want and you need something
Yeah.
immediately, the chances that you're going to get that are really low. So what you need is some type of process to stay engaged at least a low
Yeah.
level consistently, because just going off and on is actually unfortunately not the best way to use it.
Yeah, so that kind of leads into the question that I was going to ask you, which is you work a lot with people on their LinkedIn profiles. What is like
Mhm.
usually like who comes and asks you for help with their LinkedIn profiles? Who do you usually help out with that? And who do you think
Yeah.
would be like the person that like really needs this session?
Well, I think anybody who feels intimidated by LinkedIn, whether it's building their profile or engaging with others, would benefit from this
Mhm.
session. I think, especially as medical writers, we tend to be a lot of us very introverted,
Mhm.
which makes LinkedIn feel even a little bit less natural. So, I'm an introvert too. So, if you're an introvert and you want to learn how to use LinkedIn without people immediately think, oh my God, I don't want to write like tons of posts about myself. Like, I get it. So I think that's good for anybody. I specifically work in my LinkedIn business with people in healthcare, health tech, and pharma.
Mhm.
So this, fits in medical writing, fits in as well, I think, in those categories. And the reason I work with those groups is just because those are the fields that I know personally. So I think that the techniques we'll be talking about are actually probably applicable really to anyone in any industry. It just so happens that, I know medical writing and healthcare a little bit more than I know other industries, but the formula is pretty much the same for anybody on LinkedIn.